Hello and welcome to Jtimes, where we uncover the Kabbalah take on Jewish issues and current events. With me, as always, is Kabbalist Dr. Laitman. Hello, Dr. Laitman. Today's Jewish issue and current event is Hannukah, the festival. We're going to talk about the meaning of Hannukah. We're going to give it a little deeper angle. We're going to show where it comes from, its roots, what it means to us throughout the year, its significance in the place where it is during the year, and in general, what it means for us as Jews in our spiritual work. So, Dr. Laitman, we know that festivals, the Jewish festivals, have a significance in the inner work of a person, the inner spiritual work of a person. We know that each festival represents a certain spiritual state. First of all, what does that mean? And what is the specific meaning of Hannukah in that cycle, in that meaning, spiritual meaning?
We learn in the wisdom of Kabbalah that our entire world is a projection of the spiritual world. That first of all, there's a process that we have to undergo in our inner state, and as a result, we have those holidays in this world which merely symbolize our spiritual development, the development that we have to undergo. So maybe let's start with a general overview that the whole of humanity, all of its history, the history of humanity is the development of the will to receive, our ego. And we have to correct our ego from the point where I have created the evil inclination, I have created the light which reforms, I have created the Torah spice, and the light in it reforms, meaning that this kind of closes the cycle that the whole of humanity goes through, only that, first of all, the people of Israel carry out this role, and then the rest of the world, the rest of the people, as it's called, that all nations shall come to him, for my home is the house of prayer for all nations. So we're talking both about a general and also particular correction. And we're developing from year to year, from generation to generation, throughout the generations as a result of our ego developing. In nature, in the still vegetative inanimate, the ego doesn't develop that fast, and therefore there's not that much of a difference between plants and animals from generation to generation, whereas a person, he develops really quickly and develops through life ceaselessly. And therefore, we're very different. Children and parents, and the grandfather differs from the parents and the grandchildren. The development is very rapid until, throughout this development, we've reached our generation, which is a very unique state.
Yes, but these festivals, these occasions were given to us thousands of years ago.
True. They symbolize our development, which we have to undergo. But what I'd like to tell you about is what we have to do in accordance with the holiday, with the festival itself. So, it follows that our ego, which develops us, isn't that bad. It developed us all through history and brought us to new developments, good things, and we develop human society and technology and culture, education, and that's how we've developed. Eventually, we've reached a life, the life that we have, this comfortable life like we have now.
The American dream, sort of.
More or less. But lately, this ego turned around, reached a crisis, and demands of us to be interconnected. Because the whole world, we discover that it is becoming interconnected, integral, there is mutual interdependence, and we, in our ego, don't really want to be interdependent. Each one of us wants to keep his own privacy, and so it follows that for the very first time we're in a very unique kind of crisis, that the development is not that we see We're to keep on developing to how to further develop society and industry and economics and culture and education and so on and so forth. But in everything that we're engaged in this world, we kind of came to a dead end.
I'm beginning to lose the contact between that and the festivals.
Right. But nonetheless, here we are in a very hard struggle with ourselves, where on the one hand nature presents itself to be global and integral, meaning that we're all interconnected in a single system, and we're not. We want to be individualists, egoists, each one of us, and this struggle is called a crisis. Coming out of this crisis, it's correction. The correction, in order for us to undergo this peacefully, it is for us to come to a state called Hannukah.
Aha, okay.
Why?
Why? Yes, indeed, why?
The first correction which we have to make between us, it's not immediately a connection immediately between us, but it is a correction that's called chafetz chesed, delighted in mercy, namely, don't do to others what you hate. Don't really be connected, like it says that all of Israel are friends, are connected, the love of Israel, where it truly speaks about a profound connection, but at least a step forward for us not to reject each other, but for us to reach a state where we will feel ourselves, each one shall be courteous towards others, for us to feel that we belong to one nation, that the land of Israel and whoever's in America, the Jews in America and the US and in France and in all other countries, for them to feel themselves that they nonetheless belong to one another, that we're all a part of one nation. It's not yet a real connection between us that we're demanded to reach a state where all of Israel are friends, reach the state of love another as thyself, but at least to belong to one single nation, that we're close. You don't have to love the others, but nonetheless, you feel that we belong to one family. You don't have to love the relatives, but
it sounds like a universal message. So does that principle apply also to non-Jews, or will they get to it later, or how does it work?
So all of our holidays, they point at the correction which the people of Israel, first of all, have to perform on themselves and then be light for the nations, to convey that very law, that same form of behavior to the rest of the world. And here we reach the implementation of the task of you are the chosen people, a holy nation.
So that's the meaning of being a light unto the nations.
Right. And the connection which we must make, and today we have to make this connection the world over among 7 billion people, it is achieved in 2 stops. The one stop is Hannukah, and the other stop is Purim. So now we're only talking about the first stop. And first of all, on this process, we have to make this, first of all, Israel have to make this transition, and then to pull the rest of the nations with them to the very first stop with it, which is Hannukah. And from Hannukah on, Israel take a step forward toward a state of true connection called Purim, and after that, the rest of the nations of the world. Why is it therefore called Hannukah? It's from the word Hannukah, meaning park here. It's not that all are corrected, all are as one brotherhood, that the whole of humanity has to connect together in this one hug, but it is still to get rid of the hatred.
So that's the park midway that we do, that we got rid of the hatred, but
Yes.
we're not into love yet.
Exactly, because today we're in reciprocal hatred. Nature in Gematria, in its numerical value, equals the Creator, Elohim, and it pressures us, making us unite. That's the reason for the crisis. The crisis says you must unite. It's like it was in state of Mount Sinai, as it says, if you accept the Torah, meaning correct yourselves and reach love and unity, because what is the Torah? Love another as thyself is the major rule of the Torah, meaning that you have to reach love. So if you accept it, great. If you don't, this will be your burial place. And that's exactly what we feel today in this crisis that is ever more developing, that we have to fix it. If we don't, it will fix us very seriously. And therefore, specifically today, as the people of Israel, we have to feel that we are not in some kind of a symbolic holiday for children where we light candles, sing songs, eat donuts, sufganiya. But we have to accept this holiday as something more internal. How do we correct ourselves? To reach from hatred, not in one leap to love, but to reach some kind of a compromise between us, to a point where no one hates the other, to come out of the hatred, first of all, to a neutral place. That's called the parking place, Hannukah.
I see. You know, it's different from the traditional meaning that I know of Hannukah, which was the celebration of the inauguration of the temple after the rebellion.
Why? It's already a step forward toward the third temple.
Okay, so it's for me this is a new definition. Speaking of being more serious and taking this into a more internal level, I would say, we know that the festival symbolizes the triumph of the Hasmoneans over the Greek.
It's a great triumph because, first of all, each one of us has to get out of his ego and start relating to others in a way that he respects them, that he doesn't reject them. We don't understand how it is contradicting to our current nature.
Yes, but my question is there a specific meaning to the term Hasmoneans and the term Greeks internally? Do they represent something? Because we know that everything is inner work, right? Everything symbolizes a certain spiritual situation. So do elements in the festival, such as...
Our Greeks is our ego. It's simply that each one of us wants to be independent, disconnect from the others, completely live his life on his own, not belonging to no nation. I don't care about Israel, don't care about the Jews, I don't care about everything altogether. I have to build for myself now a shelter from this whole crisis, all these problems, like hiding from the hurricanes. We want to run to some safe haven, and I don't care about anything else. And Torah tells us that it is impossible, that you are like a creature with the rest of the creatures undergoing a special process, and the Torah was given to us in order for us to reach a very corrected special state where throughout this process that all of you come to throughout the generations, from incarnation to incarnation, you reach an understanding and perception. What is the vast, the great creation to reach the eternal existence, unique, special, a unique life, and not a temporary kind of life that you live here for a few years, you pass away, and you have nothing as a result.
So the struggle represents what? A person's struggle against the ego? What is it?
Right. And therefore, we are engaged in the wisdom of Kabbalah in order to draw the reforming light over us, the so-called special force that comes to us from there. And suppose, like, when we watch a show like this one, or we learn a bit about the internality of the Torah, about the light that's within it, the higher godly force that's inside of it. By that we start to transcend our ego. It's not that we erase it, God forbid, no. We need both these and also those. We need all the forces inside us, nothing to be erased. But we invert them instead of being a bad inclination into the good inclination, because I've created the evil inclination, I've created the Torah spice, that it simply adds a spice like we add to food, but the inclination is there. Only we add some called Torah over it, and it's worthy. It's edible, and by that we can advance to a good life.
Yes.
And even though it's called a war, and as if you kill and destroy and fight, but that's how it sounds, that eventually you disconnect simply from the ego, you transcend it, and then it becomes chafetz chesed, delighted in mercy, righteous, don't do to another what you hate, to feel that you're a part of a nation, that nonetheless the person is a part of the nation, and the nation is a part of the world, although a unique part that has to be higher than all the others in order to draw the world, pull it from the entire crisis we're immersed in, and by the realization that we're supposed to come to from our state to the state of Hannukah.
When you say higher, what do you mean? Higher than everyone else?
In our inner traits, for us to feel ourselves above our ego just a bit, and a bit more connected, belonging to a single nation. By that, we start feeling the internality of life, a special energy which we have, a belonging to the general reality. We will start discovering, besides our world, the higher world, the force that governs and controls us, because what we're lacking in this world, that we have no idea how to keep on going, and we won't, because we have to reach a state of the final correction.
I know the reason I'm asking this is because one of the complaints against Jews by anti-Semites is that Jews are supremacists. They think they're better than everyone. They think they deserve more. And when you say higher than everyone, it could be interpreted as me feeling superior to others. But I get the feeling this isn't what you mean.
But not in a way that we're greater than others, but it is our role that it is exalted and great. We really have to bring the world the method of correction, the method of the correction of the current crisis that is now coming to this world.
At this point, I would like to go to a more tasty symbolism of the inner work. Each Jewish holiday, Jewish festival has its own special food. The special food of Hannukah is the sufganiyot, the donuts, the special donuts, and the latkes. Right?
Anything that is cooked in oil.
Right. Does that have any special meaning?
Yes, because oil is the substance from which light comes from, and Hannukah is the holiday of light.
It's like the fuel of the light, right?
Right, and so this is what it symbolizes, because what is the light? It's where I already see how to advance, where to go, where am I supposed to aim myself? And when a person walks with a torch and everyone else follows him, that is the symbol, and that is what oil symbolizes.
Also, we know that Hanukkah candles have a special structure. There's a cup, and there's oil inside, right? And there's the wick. What does each of the elements stand for?
These are the elements of the corrected soul. There is the kli, which is the vessel, which is the will to receive, and inside that kli, inside that vessel, the vessel is the will to receive. Inside the vessel, our corrected desire, which that overcomes the ego, which is the weak. And through that weak, through that overcoming force comes the oil and becomes fire light.
So all the oil is the will to receive that's not corrected. It gets corrected through the wick, right? Through the string.
Only in that part that
right.
enters and becomes
right,
light.
But then it burns out.
It's impossible that the oil itself burns, but it has to specifically come through that wick.
So that's like the correction. It takes it through, like through a some kind of a correcting facility.
Right.
I see. And that's the inner work that a person does, this correction, this correcting facility, that's the week, that's the
That's
process
how we
that
have
we
to
do
correct
inside.
ourselves. Where if I correct myself such that I invert my will to receive, my whole character, to a point where I want to be the light for the world, then I have to do some work on myself called the weak. And out of that, I bring light to the world, first of all to myself, and I become as an example for others.
Okay. There was a big miracle on Hanukkah. There was a tiny oil tin, and it was supposed to last only one day, and it lasted 8 days. I read a lot of stuff about it, but nothing really explains the meaning of this.
In order to reach the home, the temple, in order to build it, you need walls, you need a roof, you need a floor, you need to be in this whole aspect called the general soul, which includes 7 sfirot, or 7 conditions, traits, which are chesed, gvura, tiferet, netzach, hod, yesod, malchut. And therefore we need 7 days.
Yes, but it lasted 8 days.
That is beyond that, right? It's the 8 days of Hanukkah because it comes from Dat, from an additional sfirah. So in order to come to that, what we need is for all of these sfirot, all of these conditions to come together, and then it will be constructed as the temple, as a holy house. And so we call this state a miracle. What is a miracle? If I light, if I'm capable of finding in myself even the tiniest spark in order to ignite it, that actually I want to be the bestower, connecting with others, correctly connected with others to reach love in others, thyself in the future. In the meantime, I'm only advancing toward that goal. Then for me, it's enough only to light it. All the rest will be a miracle that comes from above, meaning it is enough for a person, and that is called on the level of malchut, on the low level where I am. It's enough to just start, and all the rest of the stages will be completed by the light.
Okay. And on that note, we really have to wrap it up here. So I just want to quickly see if I can summarize it. The whole Hanukkah stands for the first correction of a person where he stops hating everyone, right? And then he starts working on himself, taking his will to receive, taking it through the week, and making light out of it, becoming a candle. And
I think that whoever wants to know more about it, we have on our site.
We have a lot of material, yes, on our site, Kabbalahinfo. You're welcome to go in there and find out more. Thank you very much, Dr. Laitman. I think that was enlightening. And thank you. We'll see you on our next show.